Welcome back to Next Shift with Rick Wagan. Suzuki does not suck. This is a post-game show after the Montreal Canadiens won 2-1 in overtime over the New York Islanders. The Montreal Canadiens took a 1-0 lead on a goal by Patrik Laine in his first game back as a Montreal Canadien on a power play, an assist by LAINE Hutson and Nick Suzuki, firing a blast over the left shoulder of Sorokin to take the 1-0 lead. The Canadiens played a solid game through the first and second period. Late in the second period, Kirby Dach tried to flip it out of the zone, didn't quite get it out. It was a close call. The Canadiens considered challenging the offside on the play, but it stayed in. It was too close to call, potentially. It was really close. And both Guhle and Hutson left their man open, and Anders Lee got a point-blank shot on Montembeault, who was unable to get the rebound after he made the first initial save, and the score was 1-1 going into the third period. In the third period, the Montreal Canadiens went back and forth, had a solid game, had a lot of opportunities. I thought the first line didn't have as good a game as the last two games that they had, but they still produced. Both Nick Suzuki scored a goal, and that was in overtime, I guess, as well as obviously on the power play. Their penalty kill was solid again. Montreal Canadiens basically had, let me get the exact amount, 3 power plays against them, 2-4. They scored on their one power play. They gave up no goals, so their power play was solid. I mean, penalty kill was solid. The Islanders are not known for their power play, so with the Montreal Canadiens being a solid power play penalty killing team, it was good. The star of the game, in my opinion, was Samuel Montembeault. He seems to show up every now and then. I think this is his third game that I've said when he played against Edmonton and when he played against Toronto. This is probably his third best game of the year, but still an outstanding game. 30 saves, I believe. For Samuel Montembeault, 31 shots on net, 1 goal against. The team played well, solid defensively. The Islanders didn't look very good. They have a 9-10-7 record. They were 500 going into the game, better record than the Montreal Canadiens, but ultimately they did not perform the way they needed to. Let's kind of go through some of the players. Obviously, Patrik Laine, his first game, his shot was elite as expected. He did some things with the puck. It looked like he was moving in slow motion at times, but he definitely brings an aura with him, and that's going to be a key addition to the team for sure. Hopefully, once he gets into game shape, he'll be able to produce even more. We'll see how that goes. Juraj Slafkovsky, I thought, played a solid game. He didn't get any points, but he had 6 hits, I believe, and he was definitely skating all over the ice. It looked like he was very keen on playing with Patrik Laine. And Kirby Dach, I thought, again, still not there from a legs perspective, but ultimately he is performing better. He's still making a couple mistakes, still does not look like he has the speed needed to kind of compete, but he's doing better, and that's all you can ask for. Every game, get a little bit better. Josh Anderson had a solid game. One break, he kind of got by 2 defenders and made a great pass over to Guhle. Guhle almost finished. It would have been an outstanding goal, and kudos to Josh Anderson. Yoel Amria continues to produce very greatly on the penalty kill. Cole Caulfield got an assist, had a breakaway, didn't score, so he's on a 1-game scoreless drought, so I'm not too worried about Cole Caulfield. He's been our best player. He's been Montreal Canadiens' best player all year. Christian Dvorak, I'm still not a huge fan. He's on a line with Gallagher now and Anderson, holding his own, I guess, and he does put the puck in net every now and then. Doesn't get a lot of shots on net, so you can't fault him. It's his last year on Montreal. Let's put it that way. So I'm not too worried. Jake Evans, big fan. Solid defensive player, brings some offense to the game, had a few rushes in the game, looked great. Can't fault him. And Brendan Gallagher's playing great hockey. Emil Hanneman only got 9 minutes and 24 seconds of ice time. I think that's a problem. I think the Montreal Canadiens need to find a way to get him on the ice more often. He does play on power play too, but I think getting him on the ice, whether it's on the first line eventually with Suzuki and Caulfield, or maybe they bring up LAINE onto that line and have Heineman play in the second line. We'll see how it all plays out as the season progresses. Not a huge fan of Alex Newhook. He still does not have, let me confirm this, he does not have an assist this season, which I think there's over 20 goalies that have an assist this season. So I guess that says a lot about Alex Newhook. Yeah, 5 goals, 0 assists. 5 goals is good though. And since he's joined the first line, I feel like Caulfield and Suzuki are playing well. So it's hard to break that up in my opinion. But the dude has to produce a little bit more if he's going to be on the first line and on the second power play. So we'll see how that kind of progresses. We already talked about Yuri Slafkovsky. Nick Suzuki, again, I don't feel like he played the best game, but the dude finished off the game with an overtime goal, following up on his rebound. Good for him. Good for the Canadiens. Happy for him. Caden Gooley is a player that I want to keep saying he's playing great, but he still makes a ton of mistakes. He's still learning. Obviously, he's young. I'm not too worried about him, but I'm hoping he becomes a more steady defenseman moving forward. Lane Hutson was doing Lane Hutson things again. I can't fault him. Had a good game. Great assist over to LAINE. He's on power play 1 now. I'm excited about that. Mike Matheson turned the corner. He had a horrible game against Boston. I thought he played very well this game. He's just a little bit too inconsistent for me. Brings a little bit too many, causes too many defensive blunders, I guess. His skating, fixes that. He's a good player. He just doesn't belong as the first pair defenseman on an NHL team. He's a third, fourth, maybe fifth defenseman on any NHL team, and he's just getting too much ice time, in my opinion, for a team that's trying to be in the mix. Now, I don't think they are, but that's what they're trying to be, or at least what they said they were. David Savard still looks slow out there. Great defensive defenseman on the penalty kill, but 5-on-5 or anything above that. He gets a lot of opportunities because the opponents leave him open because he doesn't really bring a lot of offensive prowess. He does, make a little move on the line and get some shots on net. Don't hate the guy, just isn't he's not getting any younger, and you could tell. Jaden Struble had a good game last game, and I felt Arbor Jackeye did as well. They're both improving, and that's all you need. Samuel Montembeault had a great game. All in all, a good outing. The Montreal Canadiens have a bunch of games at home. They play the Nashville Predators, who have an interesting lineup, but they just haven't really been able to perform. Their record is not solid. Let me look it up while we're talking here. But their record is, they obviously started the season terribly. I assume it's not much better. They're 7-12-6, so they're worse than the Montreal Canadiens. So they're favored, I guess, at home, I would assume, playing some good hockey. And then on Saturday they play the Washington Capitals, a team that is, let's see, they're leading the Metropolitan at 17-6. So they're playing some good hockey, but they don't have Alex Ovechkin right now. Doesn't seem to slow them down. So that might be a difficult game on Saturday. And then they play the Ducks on Monday, who are a 500 team, I believe, or a little bit. Yeah, they're 500, 10-3. But they resemble, and as you know, I follow the Ducks closely. They resemble the Montreal Canadiens in a lot of ways as well. And then they play Pittsburgh on Thursday, who are playing some good hockey. I think they've won 4 in a row, but all in all, they've also had a rough start to the season. Basically, my take is that it looks like the Montreal Canadiens with Patrick Laine on the power play now have, and Lane Hutson playing power play 1, now have a viable, solid power play 1. And power play 2 is not terrible with Doc and Newhook and Heineman with Matheson and Galley. I mean, that's not a bad power play 2 either. If they can get some good goaltending from Montembeault, I think they have to keep Primo out of the nets until they have to play him. I think the next back-to-back game is December 21st against Detroit when they go home and home. I don't think the Canadiens should play him before that unless Montembeault goes on a cold streak, which he did a couple times this year as well. let's see how the next 4 games go. If they can win 3 of 4, they're kind of right back to the 500 level or close to it. And if they can do that, the Montreal Canadiens are progressing nicely. For me, it's all about the players that matter, and we talked about them briefly, but let me kind of confirm here. You know, going back to the Caulfield's just playing great hockey. Um, you know, players that matter. Caulfield, Doc. Doc is improving, not good yet. Jake Evans is playing good hockey. Brendan Gallagher is playing good hockey. Josh Anderson's playing good hockey. Emil Heineman is outperforming what we expect. Patrick Laine looks good. Alex Newhook is playing on the first line, and the first line is progressing. Yuri Slafkovsky's hitting everything that moves, and you know, still producing decently. And Nick Suzuki is above a point a game. Caden Gooley looks good. Lane Hutson looks good. Arbor Jacki looks good, and Jaden Struble looks good. Sam Montembeault looks good. All those players, including Mike Matheson, are going to be back on the Canadiens next year. Players like Yoel Armia, Dvorak, and that's it, I guess. And Savard are not going to be back next year, most likely. Maybe Evans, we'll see. And then the Canadiens have guys like Demidov and maybe Hage and maybe Beck and maybe Raw, back on the team next year as well. So, and that doesn't include the fact that they have $30 million of cap space potentially, which I know they have to pay a couple of players, which will cut into that. But with the new cap limits and the space being generated, could be interesting what Kent Hughes can and Gordon can do. So we'll see how it goes. Good win. I still think the Canadiens are playing well. They had a bad game against Boston, and that's going to happen with a young team. But they played well against the Rangers and lost, but I thought it was a refereeing disaster, and they were winning games before that. So kudos to the Montreal Canadiens, turning the corner, I think, in the last 3 weeks, playing some solid defense, still making a few mistakes. The players that matter are improving. That's what you need. Looking forward to the next game tomorrow night. That's it for Next Shift. That's it for Rick Wiggin. Suzuki does not suck. Talk to you guys soon.